My 28 meters boyfriend wants gifts, he gave me 25F back. How do I deal with this? I, 25 female, was dating a 28 male for about 10 months. I tested positive for COVID on Friday and told him I am not interested in doing anything this weekend as I don't feel well and don't want to spread COVID. He took it upon himself to surprise me with football tickets this weekend. When I told him I was not going for reasons listed above, he went off on me, saying I was lying about my symptoms and stupid for not going to this game. He eventually told me to lose his number. This was Saturday. Sunday rolls around and he calls me 6 times. When I don't answer, he texts me a huge paragraph calling me lame for not going to the game because I had the sniffles. He then proceeds to tell me he wants all the gifts he gave me back, and he wants to meet somewhere to exchange. Say no. They were gifts, just block him and lose his number like he said. Gift wrap one of your positive COVID tests for him. Man, I don't understand people. Is he one of the people that is in the COVID is NBD category? Personally, I stay away from people if I have a basic cold. It's basic courtesy. Does he normally act like this? Because this is a really strange reaction to you being sick. What a wacko. There is a nasty variant of COVID going around that took my wife out for 2 weeks. He's an ass. You don't owe him anything other than a final goodbye and leave me alone text. Block him. Keep the gifts. I'd say you dodged a bullet. Don't give him anything back. I, 31M, get guilted by my mom, 58F, about bringing her large dog over. Hello everyone. I'm 31M, asking you all on how you'd handle this situation because it's bugging me more than ever. My girlfriend, 29F, and I have been having issues with my mom's, 55 female, new dog since she got her about a year ago. I grew up with small dogs all my life, but my mom decided to adopt a large pit bull boxer mix. Around the same time as she got this dog, we started a home-based business selling food. We never owned pets, but we're both not against small pets. Since we have the business, we don't really want pets in the house due to shedding and cleanliness. We never owned any pets anyways. Q and my mother. We told her that we don't particularly feel comfortable with her bringing her dog to our place. A. My girlfriend doesn't feel comfortable with her being around B, because she sheds and slobbers a lot. C. She can be very loud and can get protective of my mother. My mom understood and didn't bring it up. We bought a home about 6 months ago and she said that now that we have our own place, that she's excited to come more often. She lives out of town, and asked to come over this upcoming weekend with the dog. This is about the 3rd time that this happens and we told her about how we don't feel comfortable with her around. She's now getting upset and threatens to not come by as often because of us not letting her dog come. This time we have a market we're getting prepared for, so we're making a lot of food, so we're really trying to be careful. I feel like an ass standing on this hill, but I also don't feel like it's particularly fair for her to bring this up every time when she knows we're not comfortable with her dog. Especially considering that my girlfriend doesn't feel comfortable around larger dogs. How can we confront this to her that we really don't feel comfortable with her bringing the dog over? How should we handle this situation knowing that she doesn't really handle confrontation well? Too long did not read. Bought a house and mom wants to bring her large dog to our home. We don't feel comfortable with the dog because of her protectiveness to my mom, and we operate a food business from our house. Don't bring the dog or don't come over, period. End of story. Nothing else needs to be said. This is a hard no due to food cleanliness standards. Tell her that. The only thing you need to say is that clearly, since she doesn't want to come over with the dog and you and your partner don't want the dog in your home, it's best you switch to communicating over the phone and perhaps meeting somewhere in public. You need to quit justifying your desires and simply be clear and concise. Your mom is aware of the boundary. Simply be prepared to enforce the boundary if she continues to bother you. You're allowed to not want a gross, dirty animal in your clean home. If your girlfriend isn't comfortable with large dogs, she shouldn't be forced to be near them. I wouldn't want to be around a protective pit bull either. Can you visit alone or offer to meet your mom somewhere for a couple of hours without the dog? She chose to have that creature. It's on her if it affects her relationships. Don't let it become a conversation. This is your house and you don't have to justify anything. And keep your girlfriend out of it so your mom doesn't blame her and assume you wouldn't care if it weren't for your GF. Just say no. If you want to be petty, I'd probably say don't threaten me with a good time when she threatens to come over less. Lol. Is my boyfriend stalling or avoiding commitment after our baby's birth? 32F dating 32M. I'm 32, female, and have been dating my boyfriend, also 32, since August of last year. Fast forward to January 2024, I found out I was pregnant. At that time, I was living with my parents, and he lived in his own apartment. I chose not to move in with him since my job is in the same city where my parents live. Early in the pregnancy, we went ring shopping because he knew how important it was for me to be engaged or married before the baby came. Well, it's now August 2024, our baby is here, and he still hasn't proposed. We are currently staying with my parents, as my mom is helping us with the baby while we search for a home. But during this time, it feels like he's dragging his feet. He doesn't seem to like any of the homes we've looked at and wants to search in a different city. He wants his mom to help with the baby instead of my mom and has suggested we go stay at his mom's place, but I don't feel comfortable with that. On top of everything, I'm struggling with postpartum depression, which is making things even harder. I recently brought up the idea of talking to my dad about helping with a bill or giving them some money while we stay here. My parents aren't charging us rent, but I thought it would be considerate since my mom is doing so much for us and essentially, we're another family living in the house. When I mentioned this, my boyfriend got mad and suggested we should just look for an apartment instead, saying that if we stayed with his mom, she wouldn't charge us. Do you think he's stalling, or is there something else going on? Would love to hear your thoughts. Thanks. Too long did not read. You were only dating a few months ago before you got pregnant. Regardless of the fact you now have a baby, you have only been dating a little over a year. Of course he is slowing things down. Just because you have a child doesn't mean that the two of you should get married. In fact, it's probably better to not get married until both of you are really sure that you aren't just still together because of the child. You are teenagers. Take a step back and figure out how you can support yourself with child support if it doesn't work out. There's a lot going on here, so it's hard to know what might be going on. His current living situation sounds incredibly stressful. He's moved in with his girlfriend of barely a year, but not just her parents, who he knows even less. And not just them, a baby who was presumably unplanned. Anyone would be low-key freaking out. Even he would probably admit when pressed that moving in with his mom just shifts the awkwardness of the living arrangement from him to you instead of actually fixing anything. Why don't you look at an apartment? This is a huge amount of change in a very short period of time. Try something less permanent, rent a place. Get some privacy for the three of you and see if that helps calm the situation down. If you both are trying to be self-sufficient adults taking care of a baby, a shiny rock is the last thing you should be spending money on. Get an apartment, see how that goes. I mean, who would marry someone they've been with just over a year? I don't blame him for wanting to figure that out. This whole situation is messy as hell, and I'm surprised that you expected a dude you had only been dating 4 months to propose because you got knocked up. I think that even though there's a baby involved, he's unsure about a long relationship with someone he barely knows. After dating for 5 to 6 months, the two of you were thrown into parent mode instead of actually getting to know each other along a regular timeline. Then, the pressure of being engaged or married was added to the mix. He's avoiding commitment. Just because there's a baby involved doesn't mean that the parents are compatible romantic partners. Figure out what you want from this relationship and plan accordingly if you're both on different pages. So y'all haven't even lived alone together yet and you're pressuring him into marriage? No wonder he doesn't want to get married. Y'all don't even fucking know each other. Face with rolling eyes, you need to be pumping the brakes super hard right now and chill out. Get to know each other first. You were only together for barely any time before you got pregnant. Geez. How much should my 34 female boyfriend, 31 male, be contributing for the bills? He moved in about 3 months ago, but he's hardly contributed at all. He makes about $17 per hour, however, he's not been working very much, so he says. He's still gone all day though, so I have no idea when he's actually at work or doing whatever. The rent alone is $890 per month. Utilities around $160 for water and electric. He sometimes gives me $100 per week. Some weeks, nothing at all because he supposedly doesn't have it. He has no other bills of his own other than his phone at $60 per month. Of course, gas too. Yesterday he was gone for 8 hours supposedly doing DoorDash the entire time non-stop, but said he only made $40. I'm in a tight spot right now as my car isn't drivable. I work from home, so maybe once per week or every 2 weeks I might need to go to the store and use his vehicle. The store is only 2 miles away though. Things just aren't seeming fair here. On his days off, which seem more often than not, he sleeps most of the day even though he says the day before that he's going to go to the labor place to work. He also keeps saying he's trying to find a better job with more hours, but in 3 months that's yet to happen. I am very close to telling him to go pack up and live with family, but then I won't have any transportation, which is about all he's contributing at this point. I didn't let him move in purely to help me, but it would have been nice to have someone split the bills evenly. Instead, I'm finding I'm coming up short most of the time. He knows I'm struggling right now and claims that he cares and hates seeing me like this, but he's not making it any better. Just words. On top of that, I asked since he's off so much lately if he could mow the yard or clean the gutters on one of his days off. That's yet to happen in 2 weeks of me asking, so I guess after work I'm going to have to do that too. The gutters are getting bad. I just find it funny he was supposed to do the yard yesterday and he stayed gone all day and only brought in 40, which wasn't even for his part of the bills. I've done DoorDash before and was making about 60 for just 3 hours and a night. I think he didn't actually dash like he said and was just trying to avoid doing what I asked of him. If I make him leave, I'll be having to pay for deliveries and have no way of transportation if there's an emergency, but it's almost worth it at this point. He's 34 years old and he cannot pay his rent. He's a professional hobosexual. Kick him out. Did you lay out your agreed upon outlays ahead of time? If not, please do so now and hold them to it at your ages. You're old enough to understand finances and how to go about living together. I'm so sorry, but why are you putting up with this like he's a roommate that benefits so much from this situation while it leaves you stressed and unhappy? In an ideal world you'd be splitting everything 50-50. I'm not sure why you moved in together when he already couldn't meet his fair share of things. At the moment he has a roof over his head where his contribution to the running costs is being treated as optional, and even then it's probably less than 30% once you factor in all your bills and food costs. You should ask him to leave until such time as he can pay his share. You don't need his car. You work from home and 2 miles is walkable for getting groceries in. Find a boyfriend who makes a decent living. Why isn't this something you sorted out before you moved in?